the Spirit Sessions podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us, where I'll help you find your true spiritual home, where every single aspect of you is holy ground, holy ground, holy ground, holy ground.
This is a Spirit Session podcast with Katie Silcox. Venga chicos, empezamos.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hi everyone, Katie here. This podcast is intended to inspire you, educate you, and most importantly, support you on your journey towards knowing who you really are, that inner self, that inner teacher. I am not a psychologist or a medical doctor and do not offer professional health or medical advice on this podcast. If you are suffering from any kind of psychological or medical issue, please do the right thing and seek help from your qualified health professional. Hi, everyone. This is a special podcast with the Center for Sacred Window Studies, and it's with their founder, Christine, who is an amazing person, and we love the Sacred Windows Studies. We really are a sister school with them. They help women learn all about postpartum care and how to take care of women and babies. And so I think you're really going to enjoy this podcast together with Christine and I. And just a note, those of you who have completed your level 1, we have our level 2 course starting very soon. So if you're out there listening and you've done level 1, it is not too late to sign up for level 2. So check it out. Links, as always, in the show notes, and enjoy. Hi, everyone. Hi, Christine. Welcome.
Hi, Katie. Hi, everyone.
So everyone, welcome. Just a couple of things before we start. Number one, it's such a pleasure to be back with Sacred Window Studies and Christine. One of our dear beloved teachers, Ashley, comes from Sacred Windows, and this will be the second year where we've kind of co-hosted an event together to just really highlight the great work that both of our schools are doing in the world and to uplift one another and support one another and highlight what we really feel is a shared interest in supporting women in our world today. That's the most important thing. The second thing that I just want to say before we start is that I got a dog babysitter for the hour and the dog babysitter canceled. So there might be a crazy Bernedoodle being thrown into this room in any moment. So just want to honor one of the most important aspects of Shakti and the divine feminine, which is spontaneity around what naturally might occur. So if you don't know me, my name is Katie Silcox. I am the founder and lead teacher at the Shakti School. We are a long form, feminine form, 2-year program that can be a 1-year program that really holds women for those 2 years in the space of health and healing with a particular bent towards Ayurvedic medicine. And that's my title. But the real bio, I call the shadow bio, right? And the shadow bio is that I'm a woman probably a lot like you. For my entire life, I have been kind of self-identified and parentally identified as this very sensitive girl, as a girl that had a lot of big feelings and a lot of big ideas and a big voice, right? And so for my whole life, I've been really curious and interested in health and healing because I was not born into this world with a perfect immune system. I wasn't born with perfect digestion, and I am still a woman that does not have any of those things. And yet what I've discovered over the course of 20 plus years of studying Tantra and Ayurveda is that that is not the point. The purpose of life is not perfection. It's not perfection physically. It's not perfection romantically. It's not perfection parentally. Thank goodness. Because raise your hand if you're in the room and you feel like you've achieved perfection in all of those realms, right? And if you're raising your hand, we're going to red flag you a little bit, and we love you and we wish you the best. But it's none of us. right? And so, what I want to just take a moment to do is I want to take a moment and I want you to just consider and maybe even write down, what are the 3 areas in my life where I feel that I am struggling with perfectionism, where I feel like I'm coming up short, or where I sense this feeling of inner poverty? And so when we start to consider these things, we really can have a direct prescription for understanding our task in terms of feminine form Ayurveda, feminine form Tantra. The idea in Tantra is that we are learning how to open our hearts so fully that we are able to hold all of these imperfections, or what we perceive to be imperfections. I wrote down this morning 5 Sanskrit words that I think really encompass what I have come to learn as feminine form Ayurveda over the course of 25 years. Number 1, what is the first word when describing feminine form Ayurveda, or feminine form Tantra for that matter? And that first word is Shakti. It's almost impossible to define these terms, right? It's like trying to define love, right? But we'll do our best. And so Shakti is that capacity that we all have for love in action, right? We can feel love, but Shakti really is the energy behind it. It's the energy behind the breath. It's the energy behind the blood. It's the energy behind our impetus to be successful or be happy. There's a motivating factor that is moving all the time. And the very nature of fundamental energy, this is important if you've kind of drifted off. The very nature of fundamental energy is change. So if there's one thing that we're learning how to embrace when we talk about Shakti, it's to be able to have an interface that feels open with the inevitable experience of nothing ever staying the same. Raise your hand if you like things to stay the same. Raise your hand if you like have some control issues. And like, it's funny at this point, Christine, I don't know if you're aware, but like a month ago, I was doing a talk on fear and I was holding up this teacup and I was talking about how attached I was to it. And just the thought of losing a teacup that my mom had given me, it wasn't just like from, the store, like brought up this feeling of anger and sadness and restriction in my heart. Just the thought of losing this cup. Imagine the collective resistance that we all feel towards just the inevitable big changes that we all have to go through. And so when we work with prana, when we work with energy, we're working with Shakti. We're working with our ability to interface with that which is always changing. And by doing that, we are in direct relationship with reality. And that could be another definition of the word Tantra, to be in relationship with reality. There's so much I could say about that, but I don't have that much time. Number 2, Sundarya. The teachings say, here's some good news for you if you need it this morning. The underlying nature of reality is Sundarya Lahari, the unending wave of beauty. And so in the feminine form tradition of Ayurveda, the goal of Ayurveda is not perfect health. It's the ability to open to greater and greater waves of energy. And disease is considered a breakdown in the flow. And how do we break down the flow? We do it all the time. We resist what's real. We resist what's happening. We resist what's here, inside of us and outside of us. We say, no, not that, right? And it's not to say there aren't moments where you go, hey, no, this isn't cool. And you create a new path, right? But on the grand level, you're saying yes to everything. And that actually enables you to say no better and wiser. So the fundamental nature of reality, according to this tradition, is something beautiful, resplendent, and radiant. The extent to which I'm asleep to that is the extent to which I'm asleep. I'm not awake. I'm not in reality. The extent to which I can feel all of my feelings and everything that's going on in my life, it doesn't mean you have to like any of this, by the way. You can open to the way that you're resistant to all of this. You can open to the reality of your pain and your suffering and your fear and your darkness. That's a part of it. But there's this greater yes that's surrounding everything. And the extent to which, no matter what's going on in your life, you've got this sense that there's something also beautiful happening. That's that sense of Sundarya Lahari. To be in the flow of something beautiful, even in death, even in destruction, even in, by the way, I lost that teacup. Go listen to my podcast if you want to know how. Let's just say my house burned down, and I'm not kidding. All right. Number 3, Hridaya. What is feminine form Ayurveda? There's a reason why every single woman that works at the Shakti school is Hridaya lady. Hridaya means the heart. If you don't got heart, we love you, but this is a place where we're like people of the heart. And what does that mean? It means that you are actually open to the part of you that is both simultaneously super vulnerable and also eminently powerful. And so this third word, when we talk about feminine form Ayurveda, is that within all things, we are able to hold the energetic of the heart, which is very, very challenging because it's the place inside of us where all of our humanity, where all of our messiness, where all of our bad habits and our personality quirks meets our divinity. So we're not fully divine, we're not fully transcendent, and we're not fully worldly and stuck and caught. We're in the middle of that, where we've got this awareness that like, oh my God, my dog's babysitter didn't show up this morning and I have to go to Sacred Window, right? Oh my God, this thing happened with my mom or my parent or my child. It feels really sticky and really messy right now. And I'm on a spiritual path throughout all this. This is the realm of the heart, and it's a very, very tender place. And that's why most people don't have the bravery to live from the heart. A lot of people will go, nah, the world's messy. It sucks. It makes me feel bad. I'm going to blast off into the transcendent path, right? I'm just going to meditate my way out of this. I'm just going to go on a 40-day Vipassana retreat. Peace out, y'all. Right? I'm just going to never have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a wife or a husband again. It's too painful. I'm going to be a tantric nun. By the way, these are all things I've thought myself. Okay. That's why they came out of me so easily. I'm just going to go to God. Right. And like, cool. But that's not exactly the heart. Or what's all this spiritual stuff? What's all this woo-woo stuff? What's all this feeling you're feeling stuff? No way, man. Like, let's just eat a corn dog and maybe 4 of them, and let's just drink a little bit of wine, and maybe let's just, do some things down here on earth that make me feel good temporarily. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not the heart. The heart says, how in the world can I get so incredibly big that I can actually hold both my transcendent, divine, alchemized qualities and be here on earth and bring all that divine wisdom into the messiness of kids and jobs and relationships and physical bodies. So the third word is Hridaya, feminine form. The next word is Rasa. And the word rasa, if you don't know it, it means juice or sap. And there's so many, like 75 meanings of the word rasa that each contribute to the deeper meaning of the word rasa. But for today, what we're talking about is sucking the marrow out of your precious life. Having the sense of sappiness, right? The sense of juiciness, the sense of sweetness, the sense of wetness. That when you wake up in the morning, there's this quality in you that thinks, how sweet. I get to do this again. And without that, we get really crusty and burnt out and dried up. And so in Shakti school, we do a lot around pleasure, purpose. What makes you feel alive? Rasa is also the mood, the tone that we bring to any given situation. We can do our practice with a sense of cold discipline, or we can do it with a sense of being in love. This is rasa, the emotional tone that we bring towards our conversations and our jobs and even the way we cook food, that matters. And then the last word, again, is a word that we do a whole 3-hour class on with me in Shakti school, but I will do my best to be brief, and that is the word soma. And soma is similar to rasa, but it's a little more sublime. Soma means nectar of the gods. And this is there's so many levels of it. And as I say the word, you can see it kind of come into me. This is when you let go. This is when you finally give up. When you lay down a burden that you've been carrying, usually mentally, and you can feel the juice, the nectar of the gods starts to flow again. And we could talk about this from a number of different levels, but if we just want to stay with the first chakra, in other words, your physical body, this is the release of starting with cerebrospinal fluid when you reduce stress. And the glands, especially your pineal gland and your pituitary gland and that whole HPA axis of your head, can start to let go, and the spinal fluids can start to flow. The teachings say that they gave that a name, and it's called soma, right? Nectar of the gods, fountain of youth. We don't have to overcomplicate it. It just means, like, when you stop stressing so hard, the waters of your body, whether they be your spinal fluids or your lymphatics or your blood or your hormones, it can flow better. On a spiritual level, this is this pause between thoughts. This is the space between breaths. This is the mystical realm of the true nature of our mind. And so practically, we can bring soma and rasa and the heart and this healing climate, beauty and power, which is what Shakti means, into everything that we do. This requires practice. It requires tuning the mind to silence and tuning the mind to our capacity to be able to sense and feel more and more subtle layers of energy. And when I say energy, I just mean who we are. And so one of the practical ways that we do this at the Shakti school is to really, instead of just talking about philosophy, we try to experience things directly. And so if you're new to Ayurveda, you've probably heard about the 5 elements or the 3 doshas. And so when we start to learn Ayurvedic medicine, we learn about these amazing lenses for seeing reality. But more importantly, we help the student. Hopefully, if you're new to us, you'll join us. But we feel them directly. There is a way that we can have an actual embodied experience of these things that helps all these 5 areas that we just discussed kind of come online. So this is the essence of feminine form. Yeah, Christine, I'd love to hand it over to you and hear your reflections and additions.
Thank you so much, Katie. I felt all of those aspects you spoke about awakening in me as I was listening. And I'm so in love with the Shakti school and what you do, and Sarah and Katie and the instructors, of course, like my sister Ashley, but also your students. And I'm so happy to have some of our community members loving up with you guys in this call. I'm going to invite all of you, if it feels okay, to also just take a minute and let's just close our eyes, because what Katie has invited into us, this understanding of our natural being, our soma, our energetic authenticity, which is just the fabric, the light of who we are. When we enter into sacred window work, we're taking all of that and we're looking at it through these moments in life that we have, whether we have birthed or not birthed, or wherever we are on our journey. We are part of this living, pulsing, divine essence, and we go through these moments, these windows, these portals, in which everything we've experienced, everything we have access to is magnified on this transformative level. And so I just want to invite you to think and feel into a time in your life where everything felt upside down and torn open and wide and vulnerable and filled with awe and magnitude. And just hold that window. That is a sacred window. And if you want to have a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly, you can feel the safety that is coming from that pressure, from that presence. Times like this can feel scary. It can feel confusing. We might feel disconnected from ourselves. We might not recognize ourselves. But you're here. You're good. You're settled. You are held. And with this hand on your heart and this hand on your belly, you are stable. And notice how a deep breath in and a deep breath out settles you more. Give yourself one more breath in and one more breath out. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. There are so many moments that we're going to go through in life that are messy and we don't understand it. And we're doing life in all of its imperfect and stunning ways. And there's a spectrum. And in these sacred windows, we feel all of it to like the max. And as I was preparing for this event today, I was remembering a moment in my own experience, and I wanted to just paint a picture and help you to come to that place with me, because I think that each of us is going to have a moment like this that feels disconnected from where we would like to feel. And this moment was, I was sitting on the edge of my bed and I had given birth about a week before. And somewhere along the line, I was told that I needed to pump milk and I needed to store milk. And so I was trying to, for the first time, navigate this cold, kind of weird mechanical breast pump. And I'm trying to work it out. And my baby is like lying on the bed behind me, and nothing is coming out of this pump. I had no Ayurvedic wisdom to guide me at this moment in time. And I was tired and I was really, really sad because nothing, not even a drop, was coming out of this breast pump. And there was no one to tell me exactly what to do, because there was no inner compass that was helping me to understand what I already had within, which honestly was everything I needed. But our culture, our traditional sort of Western paradigm doesn't give us the glimpse into what we have within, what traditions are innate, what resources we have in the wisdom of listening to our bodies. So that moment in time was sort of reflective of that post-birth time for me, which was my initiation into parenting. But fast forward 2 years later, and I was in Ayurveda school at the Kripalu School of Ayurveda here in Western Mass, and I was pregnant again. And so I learned and was diving heart first into what Ayurveda had to share about how to heal after birth. And what I began to understand, and that this is not a healing window, it's a reclamation window. It is an opportunity. The tissues in the body are awake and ready to rewrite. This window of time is often referred to as a kaya kalpa, which is body time. This is when we get the opportunity to reset. And that's why when we're looking at these sacred transitions, whether it's I'm getting my first period, whether it's I am healing after birth, whether it's I'm going through perimenopause, whether it's I'm going through a move, Katie, whether it's I just lost my home to a fire. Like, this is a time where we need to step back and look extra close at what's here. Where is the healing for me? Because it's in these moments that we get the opportunity to create a complete reset, which will then give us the trajectory forward that we really need, that we really want. And so when I look at the standard of care that people are getting in postpartum specifically, because for me, I think we're always called to move towards what impacted us the most. And that time of not knowing and feeling disempowered and like I was failing my baby, like I was failing, my body was getting an F, like I just wasn't doing what I had expected of myself to do. That is something nobody should feel. I don't want anyone to feel that. And what I see in our culture is this ignoring of these pivotal sacred windows of time. And so we get this opportunity, and what we learn is that when we honor any one of them, it gives us this reference point with which to handle the next one. So what we learn with Kaya Kalpa care, which is when specific types of care and balancing and tools and attention is given to what the body, the heart, the mind, the consciousness needs, we experience it on this level that is more intense than we would experience outside of a sacred window. We get the opportunity to have it become an imprint on our being on all levels. And so when someone is getting this type of care in the postpartum window, you'll see them start to heal and rejuvenate, honestly, quite quickly. They're like, wow, I feel so good. And it's because their body is like soaking it in, like, yes, yes. And we need that because at some point, the doula is going to go home and we're going to have to like go into the rhythm of life and all of the ways that we show up day to day. But what we get the opportunity to do in that sacred window when everything is alive and awake to this reset, we're building some resiliency. And we're building some memories within ourselves. And so the next time things start to feel disconnected, because they will, we then have this toolkit. And so, what I have found over time, and this is not something that I really realized years ago, it was 19 years ago that I became a parent. What I realized is that this became a toolkit for living my life, for operating in the spaces that I do as my children reach different stages, as I enter into different stages, as we enter into different stages in our professional work. It's not separate. So, what I've realized is that there's this beautiful tandem place between the cared for and the care provider. And we have this embodied, and I think that's what I am drawn to about the Shakti school so much, is because it's not this theoretical understanding in this set of tools that we're bringing into someone's healing space. We are co-creating something. As we give, we're receiving. And what we're doing is honoring with the Ayurvedic lens. We understand that every single person has this unique place of origination, this unique story, this unique circumstance, this unique birth, this unique past history of what feels like healing to me, what foods feel healing to me. And we can look at every single client as this beautiful, unique divine being. So we're able to bring what is needed in this unique circumstance, and we have the language, we have the lens with which to do that and arrive at what is, rather than arriving with assumption or with a plan that we're going to put onto something that's always going to be unique. So this is just, to me, I'm always in awe of this journey of understanding life every single day. It's waking up, and it's listening to that Ayurvedic teacher within. But particularly as we move through life and I see people going through this transition of becoming a parent, I have this lens and this deep appreciation through personal experience. And I will say that that second baby, I had the gift of this wisdom, and I had the time to prepare. And I don't have words to describe the difference that I experienced, which has led me to sitting in this space, in this moment in time with all of you, because that is what this world needs. So, I want to invite you guys to quickly, before Katie and I open it up to a little bit of discussion with each other, I want you to put your hands on your womb spaces. And I want you to feel that filling with warmth, with intention, with universal wisdom. Even if we don't understand things fully in our minds, we understand it fully on a cellular level. Fill that space with trust. Fill that space with love and appreciation. Fill that space with the pureness of your story. And maybe a commitment to presence. As we go through all of these things in our day to day, we can be fully present. And in those moments of time where you're transitioning, maybe it's in a postpartum window, or maybe it's at a time of upheaval in your life, knowing that you can come back to this space and be held, be offered warmth from yourself, but also from your community. That care is part of our intrinsic nature. That showing up for others also means showing up for ourselves. And seeing one another offers us the ability to see ourselves more clearly. And in the postpartum window, when this space is full and open, we've transitioned from warmth and fullness and baby and blood and rasa, all kinds of things in this space, to emptiness. And there are going to be times where the fullness that we have felt now feels empty. And it's how we respond with generating the warmth, the care, the stability, the oiliness, to help bring back that feeling of balanced fullness. Thank you all for taking that moment with me. I'd love to invite Katie to just blend together with me these concepts and yeah.
Mm, yeah. Well, I want to thank you for really grounding everything in your personal example, and also just the actual practice, right, of the heart and the womb, and that channel. And as I was listening to you talk about the sacred window of Ayurveda, it makes me think of the subtle windows as well that you mentioned, where there are these more obvious windows that we share as women in the pregnancy and the menstruation and the menopausal era. But it also made me think of all people in the more subtle realm going through their own sacred windows. And even men can do this, right? Where that juicy, full, kind of Lakshmi esque, youthful sap of fertility, which is essentially what we're talking about, is gone. And then you have this sense of emptiness. And my mind immediately went to the goddesses and the way that they say, for a reason, like all of us love Lakshmi, right? Who doesn't? She's the fullness, she's the rasa, she's the richness, she's that balanced, warm, juicy, things are flowing, there's riches like coins from heaven, or in my pendulous breasts. But Lakshmi is also known in the tantric tradition as the most fickle of the goddesses, and the one you should get attached to the least, because she doesn't love you as much as Kali. And that seems so counterintuitive. But those moments, personally, I'm in it at this very moment, where it feels like the floor's gone and the roof is gone, because mine are gone, actually. And there's just this sense of floating in darkness. And I think that's the experience of so many women in postpartum depression. And it had never occurred to me until you said that. That feeling of fullness has given way to this empty space. And it's the dark emptiness that terrifies our psyche the most. But that's Kali. And when you open to stepping out and going, you know what? I'm going to actually walk into the dark, empty field. I'm going to let myself fully feel it. She's not who we think she is. Death isn't what we think it is. And I'm not going to lie to you all. It doesn't feel good. And some days it feels like, oh, I'm on the other side, and then you're not. And there's this whole other layer to go through. And yet what I'm experiencing, because I'm very dedicated to staying in the practice, right, is that Kali, not to give it a name, it could be called anything, but that empty feeling that you have referred to, Christine, is the bottom part of the fertility cycle that actually leads to the next birth. And whether it be a human baby or, a deeper layer of consciousness. And so I'm curious if you've seen that in your experience working with women, the ones that are able to really ride that wave of the empty, cold, dry spell.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for getting vulnerable because this is so real. And it's not something we can choose to opt out of.
Yeah,
So
100%.
that that is part of it. And so we have this opportunity to look at that inevitable experience that we will all go through and recognize that we could go through it thinking that I'm supposed to not be scared. I'm supposed to be prepared. I'm supposed to get through this no problem. Or we can go through it where I recognize that this is earth shattering. I am not alone. Yes, I have to walk first, but I have support behind me. And if I fall down and if I have to hide for a little bit, they're going to come up behind me and wrap their arms around me and help me to get up because I can do this. And not only that, but I am strong enough to do this. And because I've done this, I'm now looking around me and realizing that, oh, I've actually got this. Like, this is okay. This is not my favorite. This is not my favorite, but this is something that I can do, and I'm actually doing it. And then you come through to the other side where you are now in a space that feels lighter and freer. And you look back and you say, I did that. And now I have this new layer of understanding of myself. And this is what we want in life. We don't want to be under the assumption that either that dark space doesn't exist, and if it does exist, we shouldn't talk about it. We want to be in a place where we can see one another through those dark spaces. And yeah, like what happens when we lean in, we realize that it's not as scary as we thought,
Mhm. Mm.
especially if we're not by ourselves, and especially if we have the resilience through being
Yeah.
supported. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I know we only have about 10 minutes left, and so maybe we'll open it up to questions.
Yeah.
You know, I think another thing I want to add to the discussion, and I think it's really related to where both of us are attempting to take people through our courses and our work in the world, is there was a journalist who asked Thich Nhat Hanh, you don't have children. Thich Nhat Hanh, if you don't know who that is a very well known but wonderful Tibetan or Thai Zen monk. And they asked him, what about if you had children? Would you want them to be, in this terrible, terrible world? And he said, if I had children, I would not want them to be totally free from suffering. I would want my children to have to suffer. And the interviewer was so confused, like, isn't Buddhism all about like not suffering? And he said, no, it's the opposite. It's about experiencing the suffering so deeply that you get to the other side of it, which is compassion, which is the purpose of Buddhism. I would not want that my children did not suffer. And that line has stuck with me. And I've literally felt Thich Nhat Hanh with me so much lately, because it is actually this false idea of the ego that thinks that when we're suffering, that something's wrong, that the world has gone wrong, right? But the nature of this earth experience is that suffering occurs. And if we're able to open to it, it teaches us compassion. And that really, even if we are physically alone, connects us to not being alone. And I think one of the most painful things is like your story of being on the bed and not having the breast milk. I could feel how alone you felt. And when I'm dealing with my life right now, there can be this quality of like, this is happening to me and only me, and I'm alone in it. And that actually is like, instead of experiencing one arrow of suffering, it's 10,000 arrows. And so there's a practice that we do a lot in Shakti school that I can just call to the field, and it's not very complicated, that we can do in addition to this deeply important work of self-nurturance and warmth that we must do first. Secondly, is the practice of actually breathing in the discomfort of everyone who's experienced not having breast milk or losing their home and everything they own in a fire. Like, I'm actually able to breathe in all my friends in Maui, all the students, Sarah knows this, who've gone through Shakti school. We get these emails every year. I just lost everything in a fire. I just lost everything in a flood. And our hearts are full for them, right? But now my heart is very different. You know, you going through the breast milk, it's a big deal not to feel that you can nurture your child. How many women on the planet right now are afraid that they can't feed their kid? And so what Tantra says is, what our ego does is say, no, this sucks, not me, no thank you. And it's that resistance that actually makes us feel alone. And by the way, it doesn't go away, does it? The resistance doesn't make the experience go away, it amplifies it. And so by actually whoever's out there listening, whatever flavor of challenge that you have, be warm with yourself, but then also think of all the people who are experiencing exactly what you're feeling right now. And by doing that, the tantra, the alchemy starts. And that is, wow, even though I'm breathing all the suffering of the everyone in, I'm actually able to breathe out universal levels of medicine. And who's the first one to receive the medicine? You. So I think that's really important to kind of open it up to this broader, because Christine, I know you've experienced this. Correct me if I'm wrong. And those of you listening, I'm getting really old, so I don't care to not hurt anyone's feelings anymore. I'm just going to say it. People who are attracted to like the wellness world, I'm putting my hand on my own heart, we can be quite self-centered around it. Oh, my feelings, my experience, my body, my life, me. And that's okay, because we need to have a certain amount of self-obsession to even start to want to help ourselves, right? Some people are like, I don't need anything. I'm going to serve others and never like think about my own pain, which is not helpful. But I think there can be this real risk that we run in the realm of like forgetting that we're really not alone in any of this.
And I would venture to say that that is one of the most powerful pieces of the medicine, because I remember a moment where I was up in the middle of the night and not sleeping. And I started to think about all the other people who were up in the middle of the night around the world, nursing their babies. And what I felt was like this ease of that frustration that, oh my God, that was only a 2-hour stretch, or how many hours am I, like, I just dropped all of that.
Yeah.
It was this kinship that I felt. And I've seen that too with like, deep pain. When you go to a place where other people understand that pain, that is like more powerful medicine than sitting with a care provider who's trying to explain, how this is normal or whatever. Like, it doesn't feel like you have access to that ease until it's shared with someone who sees you.
Totally. I just want to say thank you, Christine, for always supporting the Shakti School. I definitely feel like we are like sister schools. You all focus a little bit more on the prenatal and postpartum, and we dabble in that, but we love sending people to you all who really want to deepen into that field and even specialize in it. And I know you guys kind of feel the same about us, of like, the general Ayurvedic education. And I just want to say wholeheartedly, every time I'm with you, I feel like I'm with a medicine for me. I think I told you last time, like, I know you're full pitta, but your kapha, man, it hits me so sweet. Every time I'm with you, I just get to soak in that. And I hope that, you just can feel how much we appreciate you and the work you're doing.
Thank you. Yes, I could not agree more. I feel that Ayurveda is, of course, lifetimes of study, and what we're able to cover with our students really can only tap the surface of this wisdom. And so the way that you embody it and teach it, I want all of our students to be able to really lean into a way of learning Ayurveda that resonates so deeply with what they're coming from through the sacred window lens. So thank you all for what you do.
Well, thank you so much, everyone that has attended live. And I know there are a bunch of women that will watch this later. We really appreciate your time. And yeah, if you have any questions, like we said, the links are in the chat. And we hope to see you in our deeper program soon. Thank you for being here. A big special thanks to Kevin Carlisle of Goodbye Gemini, who wrote this beautiful podcast music, and to DJ Juan Pablo Jimenez in southern Spain for mixing it and making it magic.